Hey everybody, welcome to Board Game Heaven. My name is Raymond and today I'm taking a look at Cerberus by Pierre Buty, published by La Boîte de Jeu. And this is a game for 3 to 7 players which plays in about 45 minutes, ages 10 and up. And it's a semi-cooperative game where everybody's trying to escape the gates of hell, being chased by Cerberus, the three-headed hellhound. And you're trying to get into a barge and escape, but there's only room for 1, 2, or 3 players, and the boat must be filled before they can take off and escape, and all the others are going to be left behind, and they may even help Cerberus after being captured. So let's open up the box and see what's inside. I'll set up a game, explain the rules, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. So let's first take a look at the box. Cerberus here. Here is Cerberus himself and some of the people who are trying to escape. And you can see here these are 2 people helping each other. Here's another dude pushing somebody else, so it's very thematic. And the back of the box has some artwork of the game in play. So the tiles and some of the cards and some explanation of what the game is about. Right, let's open it up then. So first of all you get the rule book, which isn't very big. It's a couple of pages, so you get through rather quickly. And that's it. We get the starting tile, which is double-sided. We get the finish tile, which is also double-sided. You get some stickers that are used to stick on your box, because you got on your box, you got these circles there with some text, and those are achievements. As you can see, these are difficult achievements. There are some easy achievements, and that's basically an impossible. And that's things that can happen during the game, and if you manage to achieve that, you can put one of those stickers on the box, which is a fun touch. Then we get some extra tiles that you put between the start and the finish, and they are also double-sided. So we have this one. We have another one here, and the third one over here. Alright, so then we got slots for the cards. I already sleeved them, but as you can see it will hold sleeved cards easily, so that's a very functional insert. We get several of these reference cards, 1 for each player. We get these Cerberus cards over here, right? So we have those. Then you get these cards, these action cards, a whole stack of those. All right, and then we get these cards. This slided because I turned over the box. We get these player cards, so you have 4 cards for each player, and they're the same. They're just in a different color with different artwork. But every player has 4 similar cards, and on the back they have the Cerberus action for when you've been caught and you're on Team Cerberus. You flip your cards around and you have different options. Right, so then we have the barge tiles and a bridge tile. The bridge tile is used on one of the boards, and these 3 barge tiles have 1, 2, or 3 seats on them. So that's those. And then of course you got your 7 different meeples, your cool big Cerberus meeple over here, that's pretty nice, and your 6-sided die that goes from 3 to 8. Right, and everything has its own slot and fits in nicely. Let's set up a game. The setup for this game is very easy. You simply take your starting tile, your ending tile, and you take 2 of the 3 tiles and you put them in between, and you can choose either the easy side, which has 2 skulls, or the harder side, which has 3 skulls. And depending on how difficult you want to make the game, you choose one of those sides and you put them in between the track, forming the entire game board. If you're using the tile with the bridge, you take the bridge tile and put it on top here. Then you take the 3 barges and you shuffle them with the question mark side up, and you place them on the 3 spots here at the end. Next, you take the survival cards and the betrayal cards, you shuffle those and make 2 decks. And then each player chooses a character and takes the corresponding cards in their hands, and you put those meeples on the gates of hell, indicated with this icon on this 3rd spot on the board over here, and you place Cerberus on the 1st spot over here. Any other characters that are not being played, you put the meeples on the first 2 spots or any number of spots of this track. This is the Cerberus track. And then you put Cerberus's die on the first available spot, indicating that Cerberus's track is shorter now. So if these 2 people were also playing, then Cerberus's die would start there. And every time one of the persons gets caught by Cerberus, they get placed over here. So if you're not playing with all 7 characters, then you simply fill out those spaces already. Any other cards that aren't being used are put back into the box, and you're ready to play. The goal of Cerberus is, of course, to flee the gates of hell and reach these barges, and only the first barge will be available. So at the end, one of these will be flipped around, and then people will have to board this. So this barge can hold either 1, 2, or 3 people, and it has to be filled before it can escape. And any players on that barge will win the game. Another way to win the game is to get caught by Cerberus, and then you will start out on Team Cerberus, and you will occupy these spots over here, and only the people in these first 5 spots are on Team Cerberus. Any people getting caught after that will be on these spots and won't be. They will have already lost. But Team Cerberus can also win by capturing all the other survivors or making sure they cannot escape with a barge. During the game, you will be advancing through this map trying to reach one of these barges, and you will do so by playing your cards. Now on your turn, you always must play one of your 4 adventurer cards, your survivor cards. And if you have any, you can also optionally play either a survival or a betrayal card, but only 1. And these cards have different actions, so let's take a closer look at these. And they are also double-sided, so you can play either this side or that side. And as you can see, there are several icons on here. So the cost of playing the card is always in the top left corner. So here it says the die is +1. So the cost to play this action is to take that die over there and flip it from one number to the next. Or in this case, I would flip it to 4. And then I could advance myself. The black running guy is always your own character, and the white ones are always the other characters, or one of them. So I could advance myself 2 spots, and somebody else of my choice 1 spot. And if I play this side, I have to discard one of my cards, and then I could move 1 and somebody else 2. Now this has a symbol that moves the die 1 spot ahead. So that means that to pay that cost, I have to move this die 1 step closer to the hunt, which is over here, at which point Cerberus will start moving and try to capture the survivors. So if I do that, I can move my own character 2 spaces ahead, and here with the same cost, I can move someone else 3 spaces and yet another person 1 space. Here, by moving the die 1 spot, I can draw 2 cards from the survival deck, and otherwise I can use this card to get 1 card myself and get 2 other people a card as well, so you'll be helping others. And finally, this card lets you take a card and take back all of your other cards that you've already played, so they stay on the table until you can play this and pick them back up. And you can also pick them back up and either peek at one of the barges, so one of these, so they will be flipped around, of course. So you can pick one and just secretly look at what it is and put it back in the same place. Or I could swap two barges around without looking. So I could do this, but I wouldn't know what they are. So that is something you usually do in a later turn after you know what it is. So that's what you do, and you don't have to play this card last. You can play it sooner, but optimally you try to play all of these and then take them back. But that really doesn't matter. That's all up to you. When you've been caught by Cerberus and you're in Team Cerberus on that track over there, you flip over your cards and now you're on Team Cerberus. Some of these cards don't have a cost at all. So in this case, I could just play this card and increase my die, which is basically Cerberus's anger level. And on the other side, I decrease my anger level to pick two black cards. As you'll notice, these were beige and these are black, which corresponds with these colors, the survival and the betrayal cards. So then this person on Team Cerberus gets to pick two cards, and another player on Team Cerberus gets to pick one of those betrayal cards. Here it says that I can move one person one step ahead and three other people one step back. And here it says at the cost of nothing, I can move my die one step closer to the hunt. Here I can move Cerberus one spot ahead, or pick a black betrayal card. And finally, again, a card that lets me pick up all of my spent cards, or I can move one player two steps ahead, but then I will get a betrayal card and then pick up my cards. So those are the things every player has on their cards, and that's what they do. And additionally, these survival cards will also have several actions, and they always have a choice of two. So this one is called Sacrifice, and it means that I can move the die one spot back up the track and move one character, a different character, back one space. So that's pretty mean, and it's free, but I can also discard one of my cards, move the die two spaces back, and also pick a character to move two spaces back on the board. Another example, for example here, Cowardice, that I can just discard it and either peek at a barge tile or swap two around, or I can discard a card and move myself forward times the amount of players that are ahead of me with a maximum of 3, so that's pretty nice. And there are all kinds of different cards in that deck. And once you're on Team Cerberus, you'll have different cards just like that as well. And this one, for example, Deceit, lets me do the same with the barge. And at the cost of moving one of the survivors forward, I can move another survivor 3 spaces back. And this card, for example, lets me discard 2 cards from other players' hands. So 2 players need to discard a card, or I discard a card from my hand, and all players discard a card and or move 2 spaces back. So that's an or. And so those cards are pretty mean. So once you're on Team Cerberus, then Cerberus will have help from players playing these cards, making it increasingly difficult to escape. All of those symbols are also explained on this reference card. There are 7 in the game, so you can give each player one of these, and it tells you what all the symbols mean, and they're very easy and intuitive. And on the back there are some different things, the effects that happen to the Cerberus die. So everything is explained on this handy reference card. So the way this die works is as follows. Every time a card gets played, that increases his rage and makes him move closer to the hunt, then at some point his number will be pretty high, and he will at some point also reach this spot. So when that happens, you know, players will be ahead somewhere on this track. And every time, I'll mention what they do later. So every time this die comes to this spot, then Cerberus will go on the hunt. So if a player takes an action that advances this die to this spot, and that player finishes his action first, and then Cerberus will advance, and he will advance the number of spots on the die at that point. So in this case, that would be 6. So Cerberus then advances that many spots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and even before he reaches the 6th spot, he catches someone, and then he immediately stops there and then captures all the adventurers on that spot. In this case, it's just this one, and that person goes on the first available spot on this track. Cerberus always escorts the fallen players back to the gates of hell, so he goes with them until he reaches the first spot with the Cerberus icon, which is here, even if he already ended on one. Had I ended here, then I would retreat back to this spot. So he continuously advances and then retreats just a bit until he has his next turn again. If Cerberus does not catch any adventurers, so let's say he moved ahead and he only reached here and there was no one to catch, and this was the first player in his path, then his rage would increase. So you increase his rage by 1, so that turns into a 7, and you put it back on the starting spot, the first available spot on his track. If he did catch someone like I did, you just reset it back to that spot and back to his initial lowest rage, which is 3 in this case. If you have chosen to increase the difficulty level of the game by starting, for example, with rage 4, then you just reset it back to 4 again, which is something you can do to make the game more difficult. So then that player takes his or her cards and turns them over, and they are now on Team Cerberus. Players who are captured and are on Team Cerberus can only be on his team if they are in this spot of the track. So if these two players were to get caught as well, they are also on Team Cerberus, and all of these players will win if nobody manages to escape anymore. And any other persons that get caught afterwards, they get placed here, making the track shorter and shorter, but they lose immediately. If you're captured and you had any survival cards, you will discard all of those because you can't use them anymore, but you draw 2 of these betrayal cards. If you are still on the first tile here while being captured, you draw an extra betrayal card, and then it's your goal to stop the players from escaping. Now, the first time a player reaches the finish board over here, so when this happens, then you flip over the first barge to reveal how many spots there are, and the others are put on the side. And at the end of any player's turn, if all the seats on the barge are occupied, like this for example, even if that is not the current player, then the adventurers on the bark win the game. If there is still an empty seat on the bark, then that player simply stops there, and any other player can still enter, and that player can still continue to play normally. He can't advance beyond the bark, of course, nor can he be targeted by an effect that would make you advance, but you continue to play cards from your hand on your turn. And if a card effect makes you retreat, you must leave the bark and return to the path on the board. If the barge is already full, then your adventurer must stop on the tile before it, but he can still play cards to influence what's going on there. So let me explain some of these icons on the board. Here it says if you're captured by Cerberus while on this space still, you get 2 betrayal cards. If you're captured on this board, so beyond the green tiles, somewhere over here, you get 1 betrayal card. The Cerberus spots on the board indicate to where Cerberus retreats after he's captured someone. The rope bridge over here can be used to cross from this tile to that, but once one player does that, the bridge collapses and no other players can cross, and they have to take the long way around. This is an infernal portal which is always closed unless a player places his character on this tile. Then that means as long as a player is on this tile, these gates are open and any other player can simply cross through them. But Cerberus cannot cross through those gates, nor can he cross the rope bridge if it's still intact. There's also a tile with these narrow platforms over here, and each of these 2 narrow spaces can only hold 1 adventurer at a time. So any adventurer who wishes to enter or pass through an occupied platform space must stop its movement on the previous space. On the other side of this board we have the funicular, which means that when a player reaches this spot, they can either just move up here straight away, or they can take the long way around. So this can be handy when somebody else is standing here and is almost its turn, and on your turn you could play a card and make them advance one spot that way, and then they'd have to go the long way around. Then there are some more on the back of this tile. Whenever you stop on this tile, you may peek at one of the barges or swap two of them around. And on the back of this tile, we have the gondola. And when both spots of this board are occupied, then the active player can swap the positions of one adventurer from each of these spaces by using an effect that moves one of the two adventurers. And you do this by spending either one of the rear adventurers' advancing moves or one of the 4 adventurers' retreating moves. So that's how you play Cerberus. Let's go to my final thoughts. So my final thoughts on Cerberus by La Boîte de Jeu. So let's start with the presentation. I really like the fact that all these meeples are different. You have the different colors, of course, but also different shapes, especially the big 3-headed Cerberus meeple, which is really cool. So that already is a pretty nice touch to the game. I love the tiles. They are very colorful, very vibrant, really nice illustrations, and they're all double-sided. And it looks nice on the board. It's not too big. It looks nice on the table. I like the big chunky die that you're using, it's basically a roll down or roll up die, so you don't have to actually roll it. So it's not rounded, but that's fine. So you just put that on your board, and that's cool. It has a nice font for the letters as well. And well, everything, also the artwork on the cards, also really nice. So the presentation is really good. I think that's perfect. The box even has a very nice insert for everything to fit in. So the production quality also is very good. The tiles are nice and thick. There's of course wooden meeples. The cards are very good quality. And I also like that you even get this sticker sheet with these achievement trackers that you can stick on the sides of the box when you've achieved a certain something that's in the rule book. So that's pretty cool. It's a nice touch. And otherwise, you know, there are not a whole lot of components to this game. There's just the boards, the meeples, and the cards, but they're very good quality. The gameplay is also very nice. It's easy to learn. It's easy to teach. Plays pretty quickly. Turns are pretty quick. You just play a card and do what it says, and that's it. And that goes pretty quick. So even with a higher player count, at which I feel this game really shines, it's 3 to 7 players. But I feel, you know, 5 to 7 is ideal for this game. 3 to 4 works, but it's just not as fun as with a higher player count. And because turns are so fast, you don't have a lot of downtime. And what I also really like about the gameplay is the temporary alliances, because that is really what this game is about. It's about trying to escape from Cerberus, and you need to escape together in a boat that only seats 1, 2, or 3 people. And at start, you don't know what that boat is. You don't know if this is the 3, 2, or the 1-seater. So you have to just get there and find out once you are on the final tile, or play the card that lets you peek at the cards, and maybe you want to swap them around later. So there's temporary alliances that you're making. You're telling the guys that are closest to you, like, okay, so I know that it's a 3-seater boat, so I need 2 of you to come with me, so we're going to help each other. But then all of a sudden, somebody else trips over one of those players, and they get in front, and they're like, okay, now you're in the team, and you're not anymore. That is a lot of fun. I just love the temporary alliances. I love the fact that after a while, somebody's going to get caught, and they're going to stab you in the back, and you're going to trip over somebody so you can get ahead. And it's like, you know, it's like the joke where you're being chased by the bear in the forest. You don't need to be faster than the bear, you need to be faster than the guy behind you. And when you're on Team Cerberus, you flip your cards and you're helping Cerberus get ahead quicker and catching all the guys that are lagging behind, trying to win the game for Team Cerberus. So that to me is a lot of fun as well. And there is sometimes in some games you might have kind of a turning point where several people have been caught by Cerberus and you're like, okay, do I think I'm going to make it? If you're not all the way ahead and you think, well, I already know it's only a 1 or a 2-seater in the boat and I'm probably not gonna make it because there's 2 guys ahead of me, so it's going to be one of them or maybe both of them. So I might just get caught on purpose by Cerberus so I can still be on the winning team, which only has a couple of spots. You know, depending on your player count, it has 5 spots for a 7-player game, and for each player less, it has 1 less spot. So you need to be sure that you can still make it, because when Team Cerberus is full, you either still try to win by getting on the boat, or you lose anyway. So there might be a point where you think, okay, I'm not gonna make it, but Team Cerberus is also full already, so I might as well give up. That can happen. But in my experience, it hasn't. In my experience, every time I played this, and I did play it with 5, 6, or 7 people, it was fun till the last. It was tense and exciting until the very last, and people were tripping each other over and playing cards and playing dirty, and Team Cerberus was doing all their best to catch everyone or to make sure that the boat couldn't be filled. And to me, that's just a lot of fun. It might be a matter of taste. Not everybody might enjoy this kind of game, but to me, I've enjoyed every play of this, and we had a lot of laughs. So I'm definitely going to recommend this. This is a thumbs up for me. It might not be for everyone, like I said, and player count is a factor here. I do think this game is really the most fun with more players. So that's Cerberus by La Boîte de Jeu. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notifications whenever I upload a new video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Board Game Heaven.